Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a novel from 1865, written by Lewis Carroll. It is considered one of the best examples of the nonsense literary genre. Its narrative course, structure, characters, and imagery have been hugely influential in both popular culture and literature, especially in the fantasy genre. The author, Lewis Carroll, pseudonym of Charles Ludwig Dodgson, was a Victorian-era British writer, mathematician, photographer, logician, and Anglican priest. Born in the Raspberry in 1832, he came from a family of Irish, Anglican, and conservative ancestry. He attended the Rugby School and left in 1850. Then, he enrolled at his father's old school, the Christ Church in Oxford. He was awarded a professorship in mathematics, which he held for most of his life. In 1856, a new rector, Henry Liddell, arrived at Christ Church. Dodgson became good friends with the Liddell family, with whom he took boat trips and picnics. It was during one of these outings, in 1862, that Dodgson invented the outline of a fantastic story to amuse the three little girls. Alice Liddell begged him to put it in writing. The result was a manuscript entitled Alice's Adventures Underground, which is in the British Library today. Dodgson later decided to submit the book to the publisher Macmillan, who liked it very much. Several revisions were necessary until finally, in 1865, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was published, signed by Lewis Carroll, with illustrations by John Tenniel. The book had an immediate and overwhelming success. He died in Guildford in 1898. The 2010 Alice in Wonderland movie, directed by Tim Burton and produced by Disney, is a movie adaptation of Carroll's work. Burton's movie adaptation can almost be considered a sequel to the literary work. In Alice in Wonderland, Alice, played by the actress Mia Wasikowska, is already an adult, 19 years old, and returns to the fantasy world she used to visit when she was a child. For the first half of the movie, she is convinced that everything is not real, but just her usual recurring dream. Her return is not accidental. She has a clear and precise task to complete. She must kill the Jabberwocky in order to oust the Red Queen and restore peace and serenity in the underworld. Everyone wonders if she is the right Alice to carry out this arduous task, as she is convinced otherwise. But with the help and support of the Mad Hatter, played by the actor Johnny Depp, she succeeds. The beginning of the movie, in which Alice chases the White Rabbit to the underworld, most of the characters and some of the details are identical to the book, but there are many differences between the literary work and this movie adaptation. The age and maturity with which Alice faces this journey are quite different from those in the book. The role of the Mad Hatter is of vital importance to Alice in the movie, whereas in the work he is almost only a passing character. The theme of madness is much more pronounced and is repeated several times throughout the film, always underlining the theory that all the best people are.
I don't like it in here, it's terribly crowded. Have I gone mad?
Afraid so. You're entirely bonkers. But I'll tell you a secret. All the best people are.
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was a literary success from the very beginning, so much so that Carroll was able to write a sequel, entitled Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. This is certainly due to the fact that it is indeed a pioneering work for the times in which it was written. In an age of rules, when attitudes and behavior were predetermined and there was no room for imagination, Carroll's work brought a breath of fresh air, which still persists today. There are many themes, but in general, the work focuses on Alice's inner journey and her growth. Growing up and being able to handle the ups and downs of life is not that easy. Sometimes you are able and sometimes you are not. This concept is metaphorically represented by Alice shrinking and enlarging depending on the situation she is experiencing. The perception of time in the book also plays a fundamental role and it changes based on the characters. The White Rabbit always carries a pocket watch and is always running, shouting its famous phrase, I'm late, representing the rational and adult part that perceives the time passing by and is almost afraid of it. While the March Hare and the Mad Hatter live in a sort of time loop. Their clock only marks the days of the month, but not the time. It is stopped at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and they remain eternally suspended at tea time. These two visions of time are a metaphor indicating the difference between objective and subjective time. The first one is universal and perfectly marked by the ends of the clock. The other one is personal, interior, and psychological. In a place where there are no rules, animals talk, time is relative, and everything seems to make no sense, I find Carroll's work a brilliant piece of literature that goes far beyond a simple children's tale, both in terms of the themes it deals with and the courage the author had in writing a work that breaks every canon of his era.